Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
This is Ed Cohen in San Diego, and you're on Global Business News TV. We've been around on the web since '03. Google Analytics says that we've had over 1 million reader page views since then. But the most exciting thing is that since we started this Zoom TV show, as a result of the pandemic crashing my live conference business in spring of 2020, Google has tracked 125,000 audience page views on our variety of shows. So thank you for being with us. Our special leader today, my co-host, is Ken Somers, with Somers HR Solutions. Ken.
Thank you, Ed. I am delighted to be here, but I'm even more excited to welcome Scott Willett. And I'm going to do the briefest of introductions for you, Scott, and I invite you to add to it. Scott is a founder and a principal of Pennington Human Dynamics. Scott is an experienced organizational effectiveness consultant, executive teacher, and coach whose career spans more than 25 years across a range of organizations, industries, and geographies. And among other things, Scott is an adjunct faculty member at the Thunderbird School of Management, on the faculty at the University of Connecticut School of Business. He teaches custom executive development programs and MBA courses on leadership and business transformation. And when he's not doing that, he's just a really good guy. So Scott, did I miss anything important?
I don't think so, Ken. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, it's a genuine pleasure. And for the benefit of the audience, we could talk about a whole lot of different things with Scott, and maybe he'll come back and talk about other things another time. But our focus today is really going to be leveraging Scott's experience on talking about elevating the role of the human resources professionals. And it could be human resource business partners, people in centers of excellence. But we're going to talk about how do HR people raise their game and be more impactful and more effective in the organizations they support. So Scott, I'm going to go right to it. As you think about raising the effectiveness of HR professionals, what do you think the it of being an optimal HR partner is all about?
The it, two letters, a very short word, but a very important word. And let me just, before I answer that, Ed, thank you for the invitation for being on the show today. And Ken, as you know, Ken and I go way back. We don't have enough time to talk about all the experiences and stories, but Ken, it's a pleasure to be here with you on the program today. Yeah, so when we work with HR folks, we often talk about the it of being an HR professional. And as you mentioned, it could be a business partner, COE, it doesn't matter, from CHRO right down to a talent acquisition person. And the reason why the it question is so important is because it is followed by three very important questions as an HR. Number one, do I get it? Do I really get the it of being an HR professional? It's not just the things I need to do and the things I need to deliver. It's how I need to show up. What are the implications for me personally? How might I need to change to live in and lean into that it? So that's a really important question, which we can get to a little bit later, but do I get it? The next question is even more important, which is, do I want it? I may get the it, but do I want it? And all that requires, like it requires me to develop X, Y, or Z, or round off certain corners behavior-wise, or really shift my mindset. And then the third question is, do I have the capability to do it? And if I'm an individual contributor, for example, that might mean skills, knowledge, abilities, tools, and all that. But if I'm an HR leader, part of it is, do I have the right team of HR folks below me to do it? But let's get back to the it question. The best way to tee this up is, and I know, Ken, you've heard this a million times, And that is HR folks saying, if I could only get a seat at the table. In fact, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit by saying it. Shivers down the spine. It is a question we hear all around the world with HR folks. If I could just get a seat at the table. And the quick answer is, guess what? You already have it. By the definition of your role, you have a seat at the table. The question is, what are you doing to keep that seat? And what are you doing to shake up the table a little bit? What are you doing to put the right questions and issues on the table, which are a lot of times in the room, everybody sees them, but so getting past, if I could only get the seat on the table, to don't ask that question anymore. I have the seat. What am I doing to keep it? What am I doing to shake it up? And that's part of the it. So part of the it that we talk about with HR professionals is, part of it is, yes, skills and the tools and the frameworks and all that you need, right? The knowledge and the expertise in X, Y, and Z. And what we find is that's, especially now, and as we look on the horizon and how business is changing, that's actually going to be the easy part. HR, again, as you mentioned, I was on the inside for 20 years in HR, so I'm a recovering HR person, so I can say this. But HR is famous for overcomplicating everything and getting in its own way. Seen it 1,000 times, right, Ken? So it's not about the tools and the frameworks and all that. We don't spend a lot of time when we work with HR folks on that space. I mean, we do a little bit, but every framework we have is one page. It has to be simple, right? Part of the it as HR, are you a simplifier or a complicator? And there's a lot of complicators out there when with HR folks. But for us, it's more front loaded on the mindset question.
Yeah, and to that point, Scott, I know that you and your colleagues have a really neat little formula to explain what a trusted advisor is. It's C plus R plus I divided by S. Would you? It looks tricky, but it really isn't. Would you mind spending a minute on that?
Well, it's great when everything that's big and daunting can be boiled down to no formula, right? Like the meaning of life. Wouldn't it be great if there was a formula? Yes. Now, with all honesty, that is not our formula. It's a formula that we use. It is a formula that came from David Maister, and he had a book. It's just a seminal classic book called The Trusted Advisor. And I'm sure many folks that are watching this show have seen that book. And it's just timeless. It rings as true today as it did back when he wrote it. But the formula really, really resonates with folks. So if we put ourselves in the shoes of an HR business partner, and let's just pick HR business partner, because to your point, Ken, it could be anybody in a COE. But the formula is quite simple. So T stands for trust, right? So that's the easy part.
Yep.
And trust equals, and it's C plus R plus I on the numerator of the formula. C stands for credibility, which is pretty standard when people talk about the definition of trust. But do I kind of have the creds? And it's not the degrees, it's the experiences, it's all that kind of stuff that falls into the credibility bucket. Reputation. The R stands for reliability, and simply saying, I did what I said I was going to do, or things were on time and of the standard that was promised, etc. The I is the one that trips people up a little bit, or at least they haven't thought about it, and that stands for professional intimacy. And we'll come back to that in a second. So it's C plus R plus I on the numerator, but it's all divided by the letter S, which stands for self-orientation. And what that means is that you can have credibility and reliability and intimacy with the client, whatever, but if you are coming to the client with a self-orientation, like I'm here for you to satisfy the HR agenda, versus, no, wait, I'm here for you. I'm here for you and the business, to what end is the business results? And by business, the organization's results. because it could certainly be a not-for-profit or an NGO or something like that. So to have that credibility, reliability, and intimacy, but approaching your stakeholders and your clients with more of an others orientation. I'm here to help your organization get results. Now, the I or intimacy piece, again, is the one that trips people up. And what that really means is, what do you really know about your client? How well do they know you? And so there's a lot of things wrapped up, right? Empathy, the willingness to understand. So Ken, if you're my client, do I really, really understand what your challenges are, what your opportunities, what rocks and hard places you're up against? And by the way, what do I know about you, Ken? Right? And everybody who's listening knows that the goal is not to become the client's best friend. That's not what we're saying here. It's just like, what do you really know about that person that you're working with?
Agree. And it is a powerful formula once people can internalize it and actually do something with it. And I know that we could spend another half hour just talking about the it of being the optimal partner, but I know that we have limited time, so I'm going to move this along a little bit and talk about the do I get it dimension of this. And as we shift to that, Scott, I'm curious, particularly in view of the Meister formula, what's your view on the dimension of courage in do I get it? Bringing the courage to the do I get it part of being an effective HR business partner.
It's absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical. And we work with HR folks a lot on that, and that's one of those words or some version of that word, Ken, that really sets people back a little bit. That part of being an HR professional is being courageous. We actually have a somewhat similar model that we've created, just called more of an essential partner, or what it takes to be an essential partner, and we put it in the shoes of the client. And so let's just take a business situation where you're an HR business partner, and there's that leader, right, that you really want to, I'm going to say, I want to be at that table, I want to stay at the table, all that kind of stuff. But if we put ourselves in the shoes of that business leader, he or she is saying, I want you, HR person, to be at this table with this group of important people working on the real important work because you bring the following things to me and us as a team. And I want you to be solution focused. And that actually kind of relates nicely to the others versus self orientation. Like, you're here to help us understand the problem and solve the problem. Yes, you also have expertise. Great. You have a sense of ownership and accountability in this. There's that professional intimacy piece, but the last piece, we said that because you are tenacious and passionate. And I think that's the courage part. Yeah. You can't be afraid to speak your mind, put an offer on the table, make a suggestion, call something out. Hey, there seems to be an elephant in the room. We need to get it on the table right now. And that requires courage.
Yeah, and I would suggest, and the reason I asked the question is, as I think you probably know, I am particularly passionate around the courage question, which cuts both ways. It can be either really good or really bad. And I've been on both sides of that, as I'm sure you have, Scott. But as I think about, do I get it? And bringing that passion, that intimacy, that courageousness to the conversation. My own view, and I'd be curious, based on all the work you've done over the years, do you think that HR people get that dimension of getting it?
Overall, no.
Okay.
Overall, no. The courage piece, again, part of the part of my role and how I need to show up is I need to have a portfolio of influence skills right? And that's part of the it as well. Like, so do I get that? It's just that alone. Like, do I even know what my primary influence skill is, that my go-to one? And part of the it is knowing that I need to develop other ones, right? So I can put myself into the conversation. And I love the courage work, because it's kind of wrapped all around all of this. But we do see a lot of, when we work with the HR teams, we see a lot of passengers.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Good way to put it. Good way to put it.
I'd like
And
to jump
with-
in if I can
yeah.
and just ask about influence skills. What does that mean? Like speaking up without being a jerk, or what?
That's a little bit, I think it's a little bit more than that, Ed. Is think about, like, if you need to influence somebody to do something, what are your tactics for doing that? So it could be, I influence people just because of my position. And sometimes that's a very effective style. But if that's your only style, it's not going to get you very far. Another influence might be, reciprocity is an influence style, which is, hey, I know that you need this, and I could use some help on this other thing, so let's just work. But you're influencing, yet you're using different styles. So it's that type of thing. Sometimes there's one influence style, which is, hey, you know me, you just got to trust me on this one. Will you help do this? But of course, if you overuse that one, it doesn't work either. So it's really, when we work with HR folks and have them go through simple assessments on influence styles, for example, and even all three of us, right? If we were to take it, we'd identify probably 2 or 3 that we use more frequently. And
So
that's okay.
do you tell a story about something in order, like forget the right word to use, but an analogy, or something that's similar, like I had a similar situation and impacted persons this way.
Sure,
So
that's actually one of the
therefore,
that's actually one of the influence styles. That is, it's almost like a relating to the other person. Like, hey, we've been in similar situations. It's another. It's all these things are all also contribute to building that intimacy with, or a lot of the styles have connections to building more of an intimate relationship with that other person. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I may add, for the audience and to partially respond to you, Ed, generally speaking, HR people don't have position power. And in order to help their clients get stuff done, a lot of influence is involved. And as Scott said, it can manifest in a lot of different ways. But I particularly like the connection between influence and intimacy, because it's very hard to have influence unless you have some dimension of intimacy with your customer set.
Right. No, I think that's well put. And yeah, so in HR is in a really unique, I can't say really unique, that doesn't make grammatic sense. In a unique time right now, right, coming out of COVID, and we've seen certain HR people and HR organizations really rise to the occasion, influencing, being that making offers and suggestions and driving things as opposed to just taking orders, and that has provided a wonderful platform in a spotlight on HR. And of course, spotlights are good and bad, right? Spotlight could either highlight what somebody's not doing or what they could be doing. But yeah, there's this huge opportunity for HR now. I don't want to say more than ever, but it's certainly heightened right now. And there is no room for passengers in the HR function. Where I want nothing more than for the HR function to thrive, not just survive, because there's so much amazing influence and work that HR can do to help not just business results, but to help people, to help leaders, to help teams, to help create a healthier organizational climate within organizations. When it comes to talent or like engagement, climate, all those different things, when you think of all the touch points that HR folks have, either in a business partner role or COE roles, it's pretty significant. The opportunity that the function has to drive change and transformation. What it requires, Ken, another part of the it is a word that we use all the time, and that is intentionality. None of this is going to happen by chance. It happens by choice, and that's also part of that it. Being courageous, which means I'm going to have to do more or less of something. It requires choice.
Absolutely, which is really a great segue to the next dimension of it, because we've talked about influence, you've introduced intentionality, which I completely agree with. But, in the opening, you talked about, do I want it? And COVID has presented that opportunity. Now that opportunity is here, is it oh my God, now I am in the spotlight. What do I do with it? And maybe
sure.
you'd like to comment on, do I want it?
Yeah. And this want it question, it applies to all of us in whatever role we have. And we use this all the time with leaders in particular. The quick little segue, or quick little rabbit hole there is when you think about, actually there's a real good connection here between leaders and HR. We feel this probably one of the most important areas that, it's just going to sound really weird, where HR needs to play a bigger role, and that is in ensuring leader quality across an organization. Why are we promoting Frank into this higher level leadership role? And the answer cannot be because he's the most technically expert person in that department. That cannot be the reason. The reason it needs to be is that he wants to be at the next level of leadership, because it's all about developing and enabling, getting the work done through leading and enabling people. It can't be because I want more turf or I want to do more of my technical craft. It has to be because I want to be a leader. But the same thing applies to HR. Getting back to that the it is being more courageous, sticking my feet more into maybe areas that I was not traditionally doing as an HR person, realizing that the sandbox that I have to play in as an HR person is maybe much bigger than I thought it was. All these areas and places to have influence. I may be having an identity crisis right now as an HR person because I've been successful, because I've been that transactional, right? People ask for this, I get it done, and it's good. And a lot of times the business leaders don't even know what they don't know with regard to what HR can provide. But you think about those are some big, it might mean I need to learn new things. I might need to be more courageous. I need to show up differently. I need to have my own mindset shift if I want to be effective and optimized in this new world. So what does that mean for me? That requires some change and development for me personally, and that's part of the do I really want that?
Exactly. And Ed, it's amazing. I'm thinking, Scott, that Ed and I had a conversation recently with another practitioner, a guy named Sergey Gorbatov, and we talked about some parallel things, particularly about the new demands on leadership and what it means to be a leader in the post-COVID world. And I know we could probably spend a whole show just on that, but it's interesting how great minds seem to be coalescing on some themes. And I would love to spend more time on do I want it, because it really is a question of be careful what you ask for sometimes. But in view of the need to keep us moving along, let's shift a little bit to the can I do it, and the credentials, the qualifications, the mindset, the tools, the behaviors to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So
before answering that, or before talking about that, another, just to maybe put a cap on the want it, if one truly gets it, right, they see that there's there's some good, some bad, and sometimes some ugly with regard to the role I'm in. Or said differently, there are some aspects of the role that I will absolutely love to do, and there's other aspects that I may not like to do as much. Like as a business owner, I love doing the client, but I don't like all the paperwork behind the scenes.
Right.
But it's something you just got to do. So do I want it? So the stuff I really, one outweighs the other. So that's why I overall want it, right? So then the do it part. The do it part is, I guess on one end of the spectrum, sometimes I just may not have and am not able to get some of the things it's going to take to do it. And so that might mean I might need to find a different role. That's like an extreme. As you move up the continuum, do it are questions like, okay, if I need a new skill, do I have the opportunity or access to, to closing that gap? The mindset, sometimes
Sorry.
sometimes it's like when you go to it's building new muscle, right? It's not going to happen overnight or just by getting a new skill or learning a new framework or tool. The mindset shift is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want it, it's easier for me to then, so now it's like tactically action oriented. What do I need to do to close these gaps? We've worked with several CHROs, and one of their realizations was like, okay, let's just say for argument's sake, the CHRO gets it and wants it and all that. But one of the questions they had was, do I have the right team in order to do this? For my HR team to do it. And that requires some real soul searching. And it's like, as I go around my respective HR table, I don't have, from a team perspective, what it takes to do it. What am I going to do about that?
Yeah.
So it can be
Scott,
individual as a leader. It's closing those gaps. It's getting the things you need to do it.
absolutely. So Scott, as you think about the last, well, let's say 18 months of our pandemic existence, as you have worked with clients, and I know you work with clients literally around the planet, have you seen any patterns emerge of new skill sets or new expectations of skill sets that HR people need to bring to the table?
Yeah, the real quick, well, the easy answer is, yeah, the different ways of working that HR plays a role in, right? Either helping people get used to new norms and working remotely and all that. But that's such an easy it's an easy answer, because by the way, there's been people working remotely for a long time before
Absolutely.
a pandemic happened, right? So, however, when everybody is overnight, that's the right. So, I think that one of the biggest there are two things that have come from that. One is that it is all about the fundamentals. We hear COVID, and I don't want this to come across as I'm very sensitive to the fact that it's a pandemic and that's not good. But we start to hear COVID being used as an excuse. Now, there's very, very, very good reasons and ways that COVID has made things difficult. So I'm really not trying to discount that at all. It's like hearing people blame culture for, well, that's the culture around here. Well, you're telling me that you don't have an ability to influence you and your team locally? Of course you do. It's like using culture as an excuse. COVID, my fear is that it is starting to be used as an excuse. Because we just find that the basics and the fundamentals have been really highlighted throughout COVID. And in a lot of cases, people have really focused in on that and really, like, what do my people need? They need to feel and stay connected. They need to feel included, all that. So, okay, leader, and this is the HR, from an HR perspective, okay, the leaders I'm supporting, how am I helping them do that better? Now, they should have always been doing that.
Right.
Because some leaders don't stay connected even when they're all in the same building together. let alone now everybody is working from home. So we've seen a lot of HR folks, beyond the whole vaccination and safety, which HR has played a significant role in. It's the team dynamic, local, helping leaders create the right climate for their people in this weird situation. So I think that's the basics and the foundations is a theme coming out. And again, HR, I can say this because I've bet, is really good at overcomplicating things.
Yes.
Like the 15-page organizational design framework, when it really only needs to be 1 page to get the ball rolling and cover 80% of the work needs to be done. So there's that. So it's been a great reminder, and advice to HR would be to continue to don't lose sight of the basics and the fundamentals, because there's still a lot of work to be done there to make sure that leaders and organizations are even at industry standard level on some of these things.
Unfortunately, we have about eight minutes remaining available.
Great. And then the organizational climate piece, Ken, is the other pattern I see coming out that has always been important. It became even more important during COVID. And our hope is that some of the things that leaders and teams have been doing throughout COVID, they can pull that through into whatever's next.
Fair enough. And Scott, I know I want to be sensitive to the time that you have available to share with us today. Maybe you'll be able to come back and we can do a deep dive on one or more of these topics.
Oh, would love it.
Great. I hope we can do that. But before we finish today, I did want to spend a couple of minutes, have you talk about code, because I think code is a unique set of capabilities that you guys bring to your clients.
What's code mean?
So code is the quick history is over the work that we do, we're always partnering with the HR folks at the client in some shape or form. And it just kind of happened by, you know how you get a data point here and there, but then you start to identify a pattern. And one of the things we're realizing is that from an HR perspective, there has been so much focus for all the right reasons on talent. And that's great, right? It's a critical role that HR plays. But what's often not talked about as much is the organization in which we're bringing the talent into. So this area of aligning people and organization in support of strategy is really important, but there hasn't been as much emphasis on the organization part. It's sometimes it kind of sits out there in different COEs. And by the way, I'm not implying that we should get rid of COEs, like org development and things like that. However, specifically from an HR business partner perspective, we were working with a client a couple years ago, and he goes, the thing that worries me the most every day is that my HR business partners are missing opportunities. They're not seeing the problems in front of them, which means they're missing opportunities to add value on small, medium, and large scale. So just stick to the small. Like when you think about everyday organizational effectiveness work, right? Typically, OE might be that group of folks that do OE work in a company. That's fine, right? For big, larger scale, that's really important. But from an HR business perspective, there's everyday OE problems and opportunities in front of me all the time. Am I seeing them? Do I jump in? Do I make offers? Do I put them on the table, et cetera? So the CODE program, Ed, it's an acronym. So CODE stands for Building Capability in Organizational Design, Development, and Effectiveness. So it's forget about the roles, the specific roles that people might have in those areas, but as an HR person in general, whether you're an HR business partner or even a talent acquisition person or employee law, it doesn't matter. There are opportunities for all of us to show up in our HR roles with more of an org effectiveness mindset or a lens. And so what the CODE program does, it's unique. It's the only one out there that we have different versions of it live and virtual because of COVID and such, but taking cohorts of HR professionals through a program with different sessions, but it's primarily focused on mindset. And then there's a piece on new tools and models and behaviors. it talks a lot about the trusted advisor and things like that. And then the third piece is real-time, real-world application. So as we're kind of helping them shift their mindset and think about things differently and throwing some simple tools and frameworks at them, we're having them apply all this to their real-life things they're working on,
Right.
which we all know is one of the best ways to learn. So that's what the code program is.
And Scott, if I don't have it wrong, one of the things that code delivers is a more holistic point of view on the role of human resources and the opportunities to contribute to the organization's success, as opposed to I'm a talent acquisition person and my silo drives my mentality.
For sure. I might steal that and add it to the marketing materials for code, Ken. No, but you're absolutely right. And it goes back to actually, it's a great way to bring it right back to how am I showing up?
Right.
When I quote unquote, when I walk in the door with my HR role, whatever I am, what do I see? And what am I looking for? Where's my sandbox? And the quick answer is the sandbox is everywhere you look.
Hi, this is Ed, and I thank you for tuning in to Global TV Talk Show, a unit on globalbusinessnews.net. We broadcast to the world, as you know by now. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that our programs are advertising supported. We're grateful for co-sponsors, advertisers. They have a marketing budget coupled with a strong desire to be associated with our top quality program. And of course, I'm grateful. Thank you. So for the next few minutes, you're going to see some commercials. It's mostly very low key, and our prices are very, very reasonable. Our exposure for the advertisers go 12 months and beyond. Some of our advertisers have been with us since March, April of 2020. And Google Analytics has tracked over 125,000 what they call audience page views, which means you looking at this page, that's a page view. Now, if you happen to go to one of our other shows or to our radio broadcasts or to our newspaper or magazine, those become additional page views as measured by Google Analytics. And so when they say 125,000 since spring of 2020 up through Labor Day, a month ago, that's pretty good numbers. And the past 30 days, Google Analytics has measured just under 6,000 audience page views. And that, according to them, is a 42% increase in audience participation over the month of August. So thank you very much. Well, here's our advertisers, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes or so, and we'll proceed with this interesting conversation. Thank you.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times, there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we are researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
When I quote unquote, when I walk in the door with my HR role, whatever I am, what do I see? And what am I looking for? Where's my sandbox? And the quick answer is the sandbox is everywhere you look. It could even be, hey, I'm kind of noticing that this team is struggling with a core business process. I don't need to be the business process Six Sigma expert, but I can say, hey, I'm seeing I think process, there's something that needs some attention here because process is part of the system. As opposed to,
Exactly.
I go in each day and I'm just listening for the word talent. And once I hear the word talent, I'll speak up. That's a huge missed opportunity.
Absolutely. Scott, really appreciate your time today. Clearly, there's lots of opportunity to dive deeper in multiple topics. I hope we can get you back here to pick one or two of those and do that deep dive. Ed, any comments, questions, concern, or remarks before we wrap up?
Well, I love the idea of courage, because that's what Sergi and you talked about last week, about having the courage as an HR leader, having the courage to talk to the C-suite and tell them that they're not coming across properly or something's amiss. And that struck me as like, bingo. But in the next several weeks, leading into January and beyond, we'll be doing a number of broadcasts, and I think would be a wonderful opportunity to have you on one of those programs as well.
Yeah, I'd love to get Scott and Sergi on the show at the same time. I think you guys would leverage each other beautifully.
I watched that program 2 nights ago. So yeah, I think that'd be fun. And the courage piece, Ed, to your point, we were with a whole room full of HR folks, and this was a publicly traded company. And back to the courage piece and whole mindset and how you show up, we asked how many people in here are a shareholder, and everybody raised their hands. It's like, well, there's your answer. Speak up.
Exactly.
If you see leaders not doing something, or if there's an elephant in the room, put it on the table, because you're being affected as a shareholder.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
All right. So the issue of being afraid to speak up, or thinking that you don't have the chops, or you don't want to stand out, even though you may have a share, that guy over there has 100 shares.
Well, which could be another topic for later, but is psychological safety. And that's another area that we are finding is back to that climate piece, it's a huge area for HR to push and work with leaders on, like to what extent are leaders creating, and by the way, to the extent teammates are creating for each other, an environment in which it is safe to speak up, admit mistakes, ask for help, because without that dialogue, teams are not as effective as they can be, and organizations will not be as successful as they can be.
Absolutely.
Reluctantly, just a sec, please. Is this why women are leaving? There's a whole new topic, but
what psychological? I don't know enough to know. I don't know enough about the different demographics. I just know that it's a huge issue everywhere. We look, and safe doesn't mean rainbows and unicorns. Safe is just, I need to feel safe to share an idea. I need to feel safe to ask for help. And what it comes down to is the climate that the people around me are creating. Because if I ask for help, or I share an idea and I get whack-a-mole, guess what I'm not going to do again? Right. And that's just human behavior. So we try to help leaders think about, be very intentional. What type of environment are you creating for your team? Because if your team is not asking questions and sharing ideas and admitting mistakes and asking for help, something's wrong. There's a lot of things that are going unsaid, which
Absolutely.
That's just doom waiting to happen.
Thank you so much, Ken. I'm sorry I interrupted. No
worries. Final thought, and I'm going to use it as a little commercial for an upcoming episode. We actually have a guest scheduled, and we're going to talk about psychological safety and what has happened. So great segue to a future episode. But Scott, thank you again for your time, for your insights, for your wisdom, and look forward to inviting you to join us again.
Please do. It's absolutely my pleasure. Thanks to both of you for a great experience today.
We'll have to get Najib to join you next time.
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for being on Global TV again. Thank you, and welcome back again. All right,
Thanks,
this is
Scott.
Ed in San Diego, Ken in Southern Connecticut, and Scott in Farmington, Connecticut. Right.
Hi, Ken.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.